The largest country in the world is full of secrets. A land of snow, silence, and centuries of power. Russia. Once it was ruled by emperors, the tsars, men and women who believed their power came from God himself. And yet, even divine thrones can crumble. The largest country in the world is full of secrets. A land of snow, silence, and centuries of power. Russia. Once it was ruled by emperors, the tsars, men and women who believed their power came from God himself. And yet, even divine thrones can crumble. In the forest of Ekaterinburg, a small chapel stands. Every Sunday, monks gather there to pray for forgiveness, for peace, for the souls of a royal family, brutally taken in the night. The last Tsar of Russia, Nicholas II, after 23 years on the throne, his reign ended not with abdication alone, but with blood. For 3 centuries, the Romanovs ruled over a vast empire stretching across 11 time zones. Their palaces shimmered with gold and marble, their carriages encrusted with jewels. The power of their dynasty seemed eternal. But beneath the grandeur, a storm brewed. From Peter the Great to Catherine the Great, from reformers to dreamers, the Romanovs had built a kingdom that reached for the west and clung to the east. Peter, a giant among men, stood nearly 2 meters tall, wild, unwashed, yet visionary. He looked beyond Russia's frozen plains and saw a modern empire waiting to be born. He traveled in disguise across Europe, a carpenter in Amsterdam, a student in London, learning how ships were built, how nations ruled. He returned home with one goal: to drag Russia, kicking and screaming, into the modern age. He cut beards, banned old robes, and built a new capital from a swamp. St. Petersburg, his window to the west, a city that glittered with ambition and the cold beauty of control. Then came a woman, not Russian by birth, but by destiny. Catherine the Great, born a German princess, she married into power and seized it. Her husband, Peter III, was weak and foolish. Within months, he was gone. Murdered, perhaps, though Catherine would never admit it. For 34 years, she ruled a vast empire with intelligence, charm, and iron will. She spoke to philosophers, read Voltaire, dreamed of enlightenment. Yet, her people still toiled as serfs, slaves bound to the land. Russia glittered at the top and groaned at the bottom. A century later, Tsar Alexander II saw the suffering. He freed the serfs, opened courts, and dared to speak of freedom. For a moment, hope flickered across Russia's frozen heart. But reform came too slowly. On a cold March day in 1881, as he rode through St. Petersburg, a bomb exploded. Alexander II was torn apart, his reforms with him. His death marked the beginning of the end. The empire that Peter built began to crack. Nicholas II never wanted to be Tsar. He was gentle, private, a family man, more husband than ruler. But destiny does not ask. His wife, Alexandra, loved him fiercely, but she was German and despised by the people. 4 daughters and 1 frail son. Alexei, the heir to the throne, born with a bleeding disease. Each drop of his blood felt like a curse. Desperate for a miracle, the Tsarina turned to a holy man, Rasputin, a peasant, a mystic, a man who never washed, who ate with his hands, and who held her in a spell. He prayed over the boy, and the bleeding stopped. To Alexandra, he was a saint. To the court, a demon. The whispers grew of corruption, of madness, of sin. And as Rasputin's influence grew, Russia burned. In 1914, Europe erupted. The First World War, a storm that would drown empires. While soldiers starved at the front, the Tsar's court danced in candlelight. While peasants froze, the royal family prayed. By 1917, Russia could take no more. The people marched. The soldiers joined them. The Tsar, powerless, abdicated. He wrote in his diary, "I never was prepared for this." The dynasty of 300 years ended in a whisper. Nicholas, Alexandra, their 5 children, and loyal servants were taken far from the capital, to Tobolsk, Then to Ekaterinburg, the city of their doom. They were told they were being protected, but they might be moved. But in the early hours of July 17th, 1918, soldiers came for them. They were led to a basement. The commander read the order. The Soviet government has decided to execute you. Gunfire erupted. Screams. Smoke. Chaos. When the shot stopped, two of the girls still breathed. Anastasia, crying softly. A bayonet ended her story. The Tsar, the Tsarina, their children, all were gone. An empire buried in silence. For decades, the truth was hidden. Their names erased. Their graves unmarked. Only whispers remained. In 1979, a geologist secretly dug in the Ural forest. He found bones, skulls, proof of a massacre denied for generations. It took 12 years for the world to know. DNA tests, even from Britain's Prince Philip, confirmed it. The Romanovs had been found. In 1998, 80 years after their deaths, the last Tsar and his family were laid to rest. In St. Petersburg, under the golden domes of the Peter and Paul Cathedral, President Boris Yeltsin bowed before their coffins and said, "The bloodbath of Ekaterinburg is one of the most shameful moments of our history." And the pipes played a single song, "Coming Home." Today, the Romanovs live on, in portraits, in myths, in memories. Their palaces still shine on the Neva. Their story, a reminder of power, pride, and pain. Russia still wrestles with its past. Between East and West, faith and progress, tyranny and rebirth. Perhaps that is the true legacy of the Tsars. Not the crown, not the empire, but the endurance of a people who have learned, again and again, to survive. From glory to ashes, from silence to remembrance. The Romanovs are gone, but their shadow still walks through Russia's snow.